Hello and welcome to another episode of Drum Wargaming. This is the Dream Army series that I'm working on right now. For this video we're going to be working on the Knight Incantor for our army. He's going to follow the same paint scheme as our Runefather was. So we'll start out by looking for the correct color of the flesh, the Guilliman's flesh. What happened over here? What was I doing over here that made such a mess? Okay, so where's all my brushes at? Okay. Do that and just get his bald head really fast. This brush is already giving me problems. That's hair right there, so I'll ignore that for now. Get in there. Chin area. Make sure if there's like a neck or something, we have that color too. Okay, cool. So that takes care of that. And then we can move on to, let's do the armor, since it's like a big chunk of the guy's armor. Let's repoint our brush here. And we go to our silver for that, for the armor. While we're doing the silver part, we can check out the areas that we're gonna be, like, kind of map out the areas for the rest of our colors, because I was trying to figure out, like, oh, where are we gonna put the blue on this guy, since the robes and stuff and capes are gonna be the red, but we saw some spot back there. Right here, like the little in between, like the little underneath clothes will be blue. What is this here? Okay, let's try. Try to stay away from the area that has the contrast on it right now, just because I don't want to smear it all over the place. Accident while it's still wet, so just get in there. Let me check something really quick on our. Okay, that's okay. That looks like something else. Just keep an eye out for the pieces. Shoulder pad. maybe these are like, because it doesn't overhang here, but it does look like it overhangs here. I was like, maybe these are gloves with armor on the top of them, but don't think so. Let's just double check and make sure we get all the areas that we should. A smaller brush for in there. Let's go to our little old faithful small and pointy brush. Get that guy. Let's fill in the inside here. Same thing for back here. Okay. And that does the silver. Now let's go to the reds to block those guys in with our scarlet paint. I'm pretty sure it's not that. Okay. Let's just take it easy. Try to get it on as good as we can. There's a lot of cloth stuck in here, so it's gonna be a little fun navigating this area. I have to switch to a different brush. Being careful in there. If you remember last time this guy was painted, and I was like, maybe I won't repaint him, but obviously I am repainting him. I decided that it's a better course of action than painting over the old paint and getting all these different color variations off that instead of just priming it first. So we primed it first. This is before the paint exploded, so it works a lot better. It looks a lot better than our Rune Father did last week when we painted that guy. doing this and trying to be careful at the same time, because you know, red paint is very bright, and if we're painting a light color over the top of it, it could make it like that. It could not cover up super great, so just try your best to not hit the other colors, knowing that, I mean, you're gonna hit them, but try to limit the best you can. And we'll clean it up later. Let's switch to a smaller brush. I think that's doing more damage than good at this point. Might be time for me to get some new brushes. Which is fair. I mean, I've had these ones for a while, so I don't do a great job of cleaning them. I mean, I rinse them out, of course, but you know, I don't have like brush cleaner or anything like that to add to the cleanliness of my brushes. Try to be as careful as you can. That's all you can ask for. That you try your best. Trying to see where the thing is up here. I think that piece is cloth. It looks pretty rough, but it might be. So we'll just kind of have to feel that part out in a second after we. I was contemplating making these shoulder robe bits blue to help spread it out some more, but I think it's kind of like one piece that goes from here to underneath. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I wanted it. I think just having a little bit of blue in here sparingly will be better than having a lot. Be like, he was on the Stormcast team, but then he was like, nah, you guys aren't cool enough for me, so I'm gonna go join these crazy dwarfs over here and be awesome. And I was like, been contemplating the paint for all my HQ guys, my hero slots, and they're probably all, well, they all have beards, of course, because dwarves mostly all have beards, and this guy is an old man, so he has beards. So to sell that, like, you know, like their leadership abilities and stuff like that, that they've been around for a while, they're all gonna have gray beards for the leadership. Like, all the leadership in my army is gonna have gray beards, because they are the elders. They know how to kill the best. Okay, now I can probably go back to the big brush. these little areas. Hopefully this is inspiring some of you guys to make your own custom bits, even if it's not a whole army like I'm doing. If it's just a little bit, you know, just like cut the end off a staff and put something on it, you know, just try something out, make things more unique to you, right? Like, they don't all have to look the same. I think one of my coolest conversions that I ever did was for my orc army, my Ironjawz army. I was using 2 mega bosses, and the mega boss model is freaking cool, but it's very static, and you know, like you can't really, there's no really customization options for it. So I cut the whole thing apart and made it so that he's like a savage orc mega boss instead, and he's got like, I sculpted muscles on his back and stuff, like took the whole top armor off of him and made him like a cool guy. Instead of the axe too, I gave him like I took the big chop, the huge, wait, what's it called? It's called the big stabba. Took the big stabba and kind of customized it to make it so that it fit in his hand, so that his weapon was like selling like how big he was compared to just regular orcs. I painted all these like little ruins on him. After I'm done with this, I think I have him on the shelf over there so I can give you guys a show, but yeah, he turned out really cool, and I got a lot of compliments on him at LVO this year when I went at the beginning of the Rona. I think that covers all the red. I think we got it all. I think he's over here. Yep, I think he's right here. Yes. So I took the regular mega boss and then, you know, cut the armor off that was here and just kind of sculpted him a back. And that's not the greatest, and that doesn't say 69. I just noticed that. But, you know, gave him like a claw from the bone splitter stuff, and like gave him like a more of a top knot kind of head, and then here's like the huge chopper. Just kind of cut his axe here and kind of made it look and green stuffed in there. Yeah, I think this guy turned out pretty sick. But that was when I played Ironjawz. I don't really play them anymore. They seem, I mean, I don't know, I'm not mega competitive, like, so I'm not really into like looking up the meta and figuring out, you know, crazy stuff. So, but you know, they have some obvious gaps. They don't have a lot, they don't have any ranged. The bone splitters do, but you know, I don't want to, I like to kind of stay in the faction. I don't ally much, like, except for here, right? Like, I'm going to ally Knight because I want some magic. But he's cool. Smooth that out a bit. Okay. Now let's take our silver back and then go over those areas where we had some accidents, like on here. So we can clean that up. Same thing here. Just clean it up the best we can. And then on there, maybe there was another spot. And here's clean it up. I think that's all of it though. So I don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about that. Okay, cool. So now let's get our leather brown to get that belt. That's underneath all this stuff. It's like right here. Be able to get the little piece of leather that grabs onto the key ring also. Let's get one there, get that. Paint up his belt. I don't think you'll be able to see it in there. No. No, we don't need to get in there. We don't need to do that. It's gonna cause some problems if we try to go in there. I did notice a little spot that we spilled over here, so just do that. Okay, let's switch to our blue for this army, which is this Prussian blue. To get the under stuff, we need the small brush still for this part because it's not a lot of room where some of these little spots are. So let's do the first one, which we know is right here, where like this little kind of clothy bit is standing out. Find out where the cloth starts and where the armor begins. I don't want to undo some stuff, you know. Does this guy look like Santa Claus? I don't know. I might when I'm done. I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna push into there. I think that's all armor right there. But it might. I think it's like a little strap on it, so you can kind of just take this. There. Now this little under piece right here, I think it's armor, but we're gonna make it this blue to help separate some of the sections some more. Just take your time. No need to rush it. If this was battle line, maybe you'd want to go faster, but you know, this is a hero, so we want to take our time on these guys, make them look as good as possible. Or, you know, maybe you don't. If you don't want to, don't do it. Go crazy. But this is just how I work. Okay. Let's make sure there's nothing on the back that we missed. I don't think so, but again, I can see some more areas that we missed. So let's go in with that silver, do our touch up. We got some goobers in there. And we just did this right here, but we can get that covered really fast. So that'll cover that. I'm trying to just look at, should I make that the scroll in the middle blue with like some gold writing maybe? Let's try that out. Let's try it out. Paint is not permanent, so you can always go over it with a different color anyway later. I don't know what color I would do, so let's just put this on it. It's one of our colors anyway. It's very bumpy, so it's kind of difficult to paint. Just have to work the areas with a good amount of paint on our brush still. Just kind of using the side of our brush to get the edges as best as we can. So turn this guy over here. And try not to hold your breath. Yeah, man. Okay, let's see where kind of this little crown piece ends. And the rest of this will be fixed with the wash, so it can be okay for how that is right now. Maybe we'll do brown for like most of the scabbard here. Let's go back into our brown. Here, and then get all the flat parts of this with brown. Those borders again will be cleared up with the contrast that we use for the wash section of this. So you don't have to work too much into there. Let's save that for the rest here. Let's go into there. This is an awkward position here. I've been thinking about these guys as bases too as I've been doing this. I think I'm gonna put like cut a bunch of like cobblestones out of plastic card, as it's like kind of like a make it like a ruined city kind of look, and then have some grass and little rocks and pebbles growing between everything. I think that would look cool. this side too, kinda. Okay, so that gets that. It's like, you know what, I think he's got like a little turtleneck kind of thing going on for his neck. I think we'll put the blue into there too, if we can get back there without damaging everything else that we've done so far. There we go. And we can't get that far back in there, but you know, I think do a decent job of it. There we go. Okay. Now we can move on to the weapons. Let's get this bigger brush. Let's go to our brassy brass. As well as we'll be calling out some of the more metallic-y colors on him. Maybe more of the like detail metal on him will be this color too. So let's get this. We're gonna go probably here. Let's just start going with this. If you remember, we took a Latchkey Grand Axe from the Underworld's Warhammer Shadespire Underworld's guys, and that's what we're using for the back end of his staff here. In the front is a piece of the Thunder's kit, the little banner that goes on those guys. Here. Looks like there's like a piece of cloth right here, but I think it might just be like, you know, like a spun metal kind of look, so we'll turn that to the silver that we use just to break up some of those ends on there. We don't want it to be too flat of a color, so we always want to add some, you know, variation where we can. So let's go here. I think it's like the same pattern as it's right here, so. Just be careful around the hand, because this is a darker color that we're working with here. All right, now, maybe we shouldn't have done this first, but let's go, let's paint this with this brass color. And we'll also do the runes in the middle of this thing, but we need to paint that first, and it's like a stone. So we're gonna paint that to be like a little dwarven stone that's been imbued with the powers of the Stormcast to, you know, give the dwarves something to look at and not be as scary as like the magic that they don't like so much. So let's just get this guy coated. Okay, so that coats all the parts on there. Now let's go to the other weapons. His gun, aka his arcane bolt. He's like, I don't want to waste my magic on arcane bolt. Why don't I just use a gun instead? I think it's cool. Let's get this guy. Here, this brush is on its last legs. Just kind of paint it in there. Can't get the key. His ceremonial keys to the city. The dwarves keep losing them, so they give them to him so that he can get them back in. You know, they can just kind of figuring out their story as we go along here. We had our base idea story that was in that first video, the concept video. And we're just kind of expanding from there out into the madness of lore. Okay, that covers that. I need to switch to a small brush for sure before I ruin this whole thing. So let's do that. Go back to Old Faithful. And then we can get this little thing that was here, along with some of these Stormcast symbols here. He hasn't forgotten where he comes from. He just found a different cause to support in his line. And then we'll pretend that this is a bear on his chest, so that it fits with his allegiance to our Rune Father on bear. On bear with flamethrower. Because why shouldn't your bear have a flamethrower on it? I'll just call those out. Should have get this guy all nice and painted. Then he's got this thing, this lion on his arm, which, you know, we would have a hard time converting this to a bear, so especially with, you know, I don't really have that much sculpting skills, so let's just, he has the lion of Sigmar and the bear of Fire Slayers. Just kind of vaguely outlining this with our gold color. Let's go. It's like, kill me. Maybe clean up a little bit more up here. Okay. Now onto this scabbard here. Don't know what this is right here. But we can figure it out later. a lot more of this on him than I thought there was going to be a lot more of this color. But it's fine. Let's get these like runes painted. How did I splash all over that? Apparently I had splashed some of this onto the cape, so we'll have to go fix that up too. It's fine, everything's fine. Make sure that's everything before we switch colors. Okay, let's go now to the gunmetal color. Which is this guy. Probably gonna splash more onto the cape, so best we don't fix it yet. Make sure we get the stuff painted like good here. This brass will show through a little bit, which is fine. It'll give it more of a rusted metal look. Okay. Now let's go get. Let's touch up this stuff. Like a little bit, so. Then get that. Paint this. It's not wrapped. He's too cool for that. He doesn't have the butterfingers, so he won't drop his sword. And then we see, is there any other spots that we missed? I'm gonna paint that brown just because I don't know what it is. And it'll probably look fine as like the end of the belt or something. I'll just paint a little of this brass on the little end of the belt or whatever it's right here. Just to kind of fix that. Okay. Now we can touch up the red here that we got splashed on, which is fine. Clean it up. Okay, so now we can go for his beard and the other parts. So we'll get the medium sea gray. Then we'll get his beard, and we'll get the stone, and then we'll go back in with the gold and get in here while that's dry. So I needed a little bit more time for that to dry. Just be careful. You don't want to touch a spot that doesn't need the paint on it. Just kind of rotate around. Try to get the best view you can. And hit where you can. You're not going to be able to get all of it because he's kind of at a weird angle, but you can get his little sideburns here. They go up to his hair. That goes back there. Same thing here. Gonna have a little sideburn. And then his hair wraps around. There we go. And then we get the stone here. Let's get a bigger brush for that. Of course I touched it. And I'm pretty sure this is a stone because it's got like this big crack in the back and everything. And you know what? Why wouldn't it be a rock? Why wouldn't it be a cool rock that they carved a bunch of stuff into and it's been with them forever? It's a piece of their homeland. And this guy's like Gandalf. He kind of went with them on their adventure. He's like a super friend of theirs. Oh god, I made a mess with there, but it's fine. Let's just clean that up really fast. With my shaky hands. Okay. So now let's take this guy, go back into our colors here, and just push, don't push hard, just kind of be light with it, and you'll be able to call out the details. And then I think I have a different plan for that. Let's do something different there. Now let's go in here. This is a little bit more difficult. Just kind of get the idea of it on there instead of wasting everything. I don't know how I feel about that. I might just cover it up. Also, I noticed that this was not painted, so go up here. Let's take this and erase our crimes here. I think probably what the better thing to do is to get those in first with the color and then just kind of lightly paint over it. But we'll just say they faded over time. With his time, with the dwarves have made it. Okay, so let's get this matte white out to do some little things. So first, let's just do some like stripies in his hair. He's an old man. Let's do his beard. Add some lines to kind of denote it. You know, you don't have to go crazy. And some more back here. Some more white. And then, what I thought of, I'm gonna fill this with white. Oops. I'm gonna mess up this whole thing. Okay. That's fine. Just take this, go over it. Just make sure that it's just in those little holes there. Same thing, make sure it's away from that. And just retouch that spot right there. Okay. So now, let's go to our contrast red to get the little art variation in the coat here. And if you remember, like this, all this border here that has the line on it, we're gonna go back in there with silver and get that covered there, but after this stuff dries. So we're just gonna do this and then set the model to dry, and we'll come back. Let me get, just give me another brush, just give me another brush, any brush, this one, to get it off the stuff that we don't want it on. Let's try to keep all of the streaks flowing in one direction. And like all of it pooling kind of at the bottom there, because that's where the shadows are going to be. Same thing here. Oops. Let me get this guy here. Okay. Let me just kind of fidget in the back there. Okay. So while that's drying, shouldn't take that line. I didn't put it on too thick, so we'll see what happens. We'll go into the black wash, the Nuln Oil for the armor. And again, like, just be careful around those areas that you've already done with that contrast paint, because it won't mix well. So just kind of take your time and brush it on to those areas that you know are going to be safe. It's like the legs, they're super far from that, except in here, but that's fine. Just get in there. Get the blues with this. Just kind of give more dimension to our paint job here. I'll paint that rock later. That rock is the least of our problems right now. Get in here. Get our arm. Be careful, you don't want to put too much in there. You do want to touch all the spots that you have this silver on, because it's going to darken all of it, so you want it to be a consistent tone throughout the model. Don't want to just dump this on it. You can leave it dark under there if you want, because that is like where the shadow would be. Like we didn't really light this model. We didn't do like, oh yeah, so all the light's coming from this way. But I mean, if you want to, just pick a direction and darken the model from there. This guy just kind of get around there. Top of this here, and that kind of balances him out a lot more, makes him look super cool. Let's see, what did we do here for this? I think taking this black and we're gonna do it on here on our bolt gun, or gunmetal. Sorry, the GW paint used to be called bolt gun, I think. So that's why I still call it that sometimes. I stopped using GW paints for the most part because the paint pots suck and they dry out super fast. So just for longevity of my paints, I switched to Vallejo. And the cost too, like Vallejo paints cost a little bit less. They last a lot longer in my opinion, in my experience, in like the weather that I experience here in SoCal. Your mileage may vary, of course. Okay. Also, we gotta get this guy, this rock. We touched the white, which we didn't want to do, but now we're here. Okay. You see, you have that big white file on there. What are you gonna do with that? Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. Just calm down. Okay, now let's get our Reikland Flesh wash for the brass color. That's gonna make it more gold more of a gold color. And really give like a nice shine to the brass colors that we put on here. It's like one of my favorite things that I kind of figured out when I was painting my Quadrant Overlord's army. I was like, oh, I want to brighten this up, and I was like, oh, let's use like a red wash on these to see what happens, and then that's when it brought it out to be a lot more shiny. These. You can kind of get the whole thing because it's a brown, and I mean it's a red color, so this red wash won't ruin anything really that we have done already on the other bits. Let's get this little sigil here. Then we get this guy. Let's bring out all those details and pump up that color for us. Make it super cool and bright. Get the bottom. And get the knee piece here. Oh, get the chest piece, forgot about that. Here, sweep that with it. Cool, cool, cool. Tight, tight, tight. Now we're gonna get the little file and some other bits with this sweet contrast paint, Ethermatic Blue. Because the ether is what the Quadrant used to kind of fly and stuff, but you know, maybe this guy, so the Knight Incantor can blow himself up with these little files that he has. He has 3 of them, and they do all the damage. So I'll just kind of give this like a bluish glow, and we're going to do the same in here to these little pits that we have that we painted the white in. Just give it a little bit more character, a bit more magical spookiness. Just make sure we suck some of this out, that it's not gonna spill all over our model. Okay. And now that that is done, we can go back in with our silver for the little bits that we have to outline this with. I mean, you can see it's still wet in there, but just to kind of give you a sample, think the outside of this has it. So, and it's dry, so we'll take our silver here. And do that with it. Same thing for along here on the back. Just doing a fill here. And it's okay that this isn't washed because, you know, it's like part of the cape and we're making it like, ooh, it's super magical and clean. Like that's like a brighter metal than is on his armor, you know. And we've got some of it is here. Just follow those little loopies in there. There's a line built into it, so in the cape, so you can see where it is and where it isn't. Got one down here. And then it kind of wraps here. Down into here. And then we don't see anymore really, but I think what it is I think this might be one. We'll keep that red in there as like a shadow, like that. And that calls out all those little bits for us. Here. And then just because we're here, just go get our little leftover leather brown that's on here and then just kind of hit this with it. You know, whenever you can, like sometimes models come with these little extra bits that make your model look more three-dimensional, like adds more stuff to your base. I mean, it's pretty cool. It gets a little cluttered sometimes, so I don't always use them, but it's you know, just use your discretion about like what you want your guys to look like. There. And there we have our Knight Incantor for our Fire Slayers army. I think he turned out pretty cool. It's got a nice little glowy staff. Oop, I see that we have missed some spots in there. You were probably like, yo, what are you doing? You haven't done the whole back yet. So this is getting here. I'm gonna be really quick. I want to leave that dark spot of red right there. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna take this. We're gonna take our brush and just, oh, it's clean, and we're gonna tap it on there, and it'll kind of suck out the unused, undry contrast. And then we can kind of just go in here and put it together. There. Go. So now his back is done. So now that gives us our sweet, cool Stormcast guy. Why is there stuff all over here? Let's just suck that out while we can, so we don't have like too much pooling in areas. Cool. Alright, so let's get that little turnstile out here. That always breaks. And like always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like if you want to. And we'll see you next time.